Jews already had a pagan daddy.
Yeah.
Centuries prior to Christianity, the Jews were already hugging Dionysus' feet.
That's the big red pill, is when you find out that first you think the question is the New Testament drawing from pure Jewish, or is it drawing from Greek and Jewish? Then you find out that there is no pure Jewish, that the Jewish writers of the time period were already going to the Greeks and borrowing from the Greeks, borrowing from the Hittites, borrowing from the Egyptians, borrowing from the Romans, borrowing from whoever. And they're all kind of borrowing from each other.
Fear is in acknowledging, let's say that you guys are right, and that they did borrow from pagan and the Jews were Hellenized. What is wrong with that?
Because it takes away the sacredness of the story that Moses was handed these from God.
Welcome to a campfire episode with Myth Vision and the Gnostic Informant. We're talking to Derek Lambert and Neal Sendlak. We're talking all things ancient Christianity and ancient texts. This is the third installment. We talked to each of them individually in the last two episodes, and then this third one, we got us all together and we just started peppering them with questions, asking them about old versions of Christianity and YouTubers and things like that. So if you've ever heard of Wes Huff, Billy Carson, Amon Hillman, some of those guys, they know them and have had a lot of dramatic interactions with them, and it's just some of the coolest stories. So we got to talk to them about being on YouTube and building up their channels, and then also some extra things. So these episodes are all standalone. You don't have to go back and listen to the other two, but if you like these guys, this is such a fun conversation. They're really good friends. They hang out on a regular basis, and so we just got to kind of be flies on the wall and keep asking him stuff. Thanks for listening. If you're liking the content, you're liking the guests, please like and subscribe below. We're still very young as a channel, and it really helps us with the algorithm, and we really appreciate it. All right, on to the show. Welcome to the Austin and Matt podcast.
Derek, Neal, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having us. This has been so fun.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
So you guys, Neal, you moved down here, and Derek was partially part of the reason.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because you're down here, Danny's down here, I have a few other friends that are down here. And then obviously the weather, gotta get out of the cold. And if I'm doing YouTube, I could be anywhere I want. So I figured let's go where I have friends and where the weather is nice. So I moved down to Florida.
He actually visited before he moved,
Yes.
and he saw it and was like, bruh, this is better than where I live now.
Yep, I was on the one time I was on Danny Jones, and then I went on to your house, and then I was like, okay, let's do it. I like it here. I'm staying.
It's awesome. How often do you guys get to hang out?
Pretty often.
We could whenever we want, but we're so freaking busy.
Yeah.
Really?
At least once or twice a month.
Yeah.
At least once or twice a month.
That's about right.
How often are you guys filming right now?
I would say depends. Sometimes more often. Like lately, I moved into my house. We haven't had time. But once I get that studio set up, we'll probably be
We'll be doing a
lot
lot of
more
stuff there.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that too.
Is it going to be two-seater? Like, so he can come into your
At
studio?
least two seats.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd like to be able to add a third if we had, that kind of stuff.
It'd be nice to do a table talk like this or something.
Right.
You can fit it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be big. This is too big, probably.
Yeah.
You'll see.
How are you designing it?
The background will probably have stone. I sent you a picture of what I want, but I'm not sure it's going to be exactly that.
Yeah.
Stone, good coloring. I want some flat lights coming down, given the, professional feel.
Yeah.
And really just, I wanted to feel and look good, but really what's going to matter is that we're getting deep in the weeds as we usually do. And the quality of the camera's getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because me and Neal, we really do get lost in the weeds. And we know we're going deep when PhDs who are like Harvard 40 years deep in this shit, reading and eating Greek text all day, look at us and go, I never thought about that. That's a good point, Neal. Good connection. We're in there with them.
That's crazy.
Clearly, we're not PhDs ourselves, but they always try, and we have to humbly go, no. They go, nah, you've earned like some type of PhD by now with everything you've learned. But, I don't accept that because I don't have the languages under my belt thoroughly. I'd rather have that before I go, but he's much closer to. I
would be okay with a master's level. But I wouldn't call myself a PhD.
You know what I'm talking about? How they compliment.
You have to do a dissertation for that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well,
but I would confidently say that I can probably hang with master's level stuff.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Well, y'all's content is so deep and diverse, and like it is.
Plus, I do run into people with master's degrees who I look at and go,
how did they get that?
So I'm just saying. So it's not like that's not that great.
I think it just depends. It's a bit subjective because one school, a master might be better than a PhD or two PhDs
Yes.
at some less school.
There's Masters of Divinity. Me and Derek found this out. There's theological schools that are Christian schools, and they give out master's degrees, but they're really Masters of Divinity.
Yeah.
And all they're learning is just biblical stuff.
Yeah.
They're not learning like ancient Greek language or going that deep into Hebrew. They're not learning about like, historical methodology. They're learning like they're being spoon-fed.
Theologians.
They're being spoon-fed theology stuff.
Yeah.
And these people get their Masters of Divinities, and then they go take that and get a PhD with it. So they're like, they have like a shortcut.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same problem in the Muslim.
Yes.
You're not
Muslim scholars
Oh, yeah.
are just
they're
talking heads
theologians,
right?
Yeah. And then they have animosity towards secular critical scholarship in the West.
Yeah.
And I imagine in other places of the world, but they're not fans of what's going on because we do not treat their book the way their tradition expects that treatment.
Yeah. They have a job, and their job is to uphold the sacredness of the Quran.
Yep.
They are not going in looking to find the truth of, was this really said by Muhammad? Or they're not looking at it critically. They're going in there with their preconceived notion of, this is divinely inspired. Now let me look for the evidence that I can cherry pick to make it so I can argue for this case.
Well, and to say it another way, there are certain questions they're not allowed to ask.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. And if they do, they can't, they're going to get fired or in trouble. And in fact, Mike Licona, for anyone who knows who Michael Licona is, for years, apologist, he was under William Lane Craig and been in the same vein of what me and him grew up on. We chewed on this kind of material. I met him in person when I was a Christian apologist. Now I'm a skeptic, atheist, interviewing the guy. He's my friend. Definitely apologist, okay? But he's one of the better ones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he got fired for suggesting that what we call the zombie apocalypse at the end of Matthew, when all the dead saints came out of the graves.
Yeah.
He said that's a metaphor. That didn't historically happen. Well, their Baptist, whatever they were, fired him and said, no, that happened. You're messing with scripture.
Yeah.
Over thinking that was a metaphor.
Over zombies.
He holds all the same beliefs in resurrection and everything. Simply a metaphor, boom, fired because of a doctrinal difference.
We also discovered through talking to a lot of these scholars that some of these schools still to this day, not every school does this, but a lot of schools do, have statements of faith, which is, we know that McMaster's University.
Yeah.
If you get a master's at McMaster's for theology, you have to sign a statement of faith, or you don't get your master's degree, saying that I will uphold that Jesus Christ was born of a virgin, died, was resurrected in 3 days, and is the Son of God the Father. You have to sign it.
Yep.
It's called a statement of faith, and there's tons of colleges that are doing it still today.
You're not allowed. You see what I'm saying? Not in your education.
Yeah.
Stephen Boyce, who we know well, he mentions this, and I'm not trying to speak too much in case he comes across this and I'm wrong. He changed his denomination.
Yeah.
In the process of becoming, I don't know where he is now, Anglican. Yeah,
Oh,
and it was
okay.
part of like a Baptist type or something.
Yeah.
When he changed to Anglican, they saw him as a traitor.
Yeah, he got in trouble.
As a
He
Christian.
almost lost his credentials. But here's what gets me about this. It's not that they do this. It's that nobody takes this as a big deal, it seems like. Aside from a few scholars that we know, Richard C. Miller is talking about this nonstop. But like, we've talked to scholars who are like, come on, Derek, it's not that big of a deal. They can sign it. They don't have to follow it. Then it's like, okay, you're co-signing liars. You just signed a document, and then you're just expecting them to be honest now after they just signed this document. Like, no, I don't care if they're following or not following it. The problem that the fact that they're doing it is a problem.
I agree.
People should not be signing statements of faith to get credentials in any field, unless you give them a different title. Give them a THD instead of a PhD. Give them something different that makes them stand out. No offense.
Make them a theologian.
Yes.
Simple as
instead
that.
of a doctor.
Yeah.
Because if you're a doctor, you're considered, society looks at you as someone with authority. I have a PhD. I'm Dr. Derek Lambert.
I'm an expert
But
in
you
this.
signed a statement of faith? No, you should not be given that authority. You should be considered a THD, which is what they used to do back in the day.
Oh.
They used to give out THDs to separate them from real PhDs. And now it seems like that everyone just gets a PhD now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is an ongoing feud that we deal with. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay. So look, we can bring that up, and we do. But I mean, I interview people who do come out of those kind of more conservative schools to hear their take, and I find that it's like they're seeing, like my recent interview that I did on the Sons of God, which you're going to interview the same guy, Daniel B. Glover, his book, Sons of God. I can't remember the title off the top of my head.
Jesus and Other Sons of God.
Bro,
yeah, it's a good book.
That book literally goes in the same vein of Robin Walsh, Richard C. Miller, except I think at the end of the day that he believes it in some way. Not like a fundamentalist maybe, but he's so close to this. And I'm like, this is coming from someone who's clearly coming out of a much more negotiating with faith kind of guy. And like he's coming to where we're at. And it's like, dude, we've been saying this for years now.
I know. It's finally good to see an actual mainstream academic put out another book that co-signs what we've been saying for years. I was so happy to see that.
What is it that you guys are saying in regards to this book coming out?
Derek and I's main
you guys are naming all these guys.
Derek and I's main program on both of our channels is to show you that not only are the Gospels sort of fulfilling Old Testament motifs, but it's also drawing from the Greco-Greco-Roman world. It's also drawing from the Dionysian, from the Apollonian, from the Eleusinian, from the Orphic.
Homeric.
It's going out of its way to be more Greek and Roman.
And you probably went, okay, I was still lost. I don't know what you're talking about. So let me help you, right?
Yeah.
We might as well get into some weeds, but I want to take you on this journey.
This is a good segue.
Yeah.
We all understand what the Gospels seem to be saying, right? All of us have read them and have heard them. We know, right? At this panel, hopefully the viewers can keep up. It has been long understood, and we all agree that the Gospels quote Scripture and say, "Thus saith the Lord," or "the prophet so-and-so," and it's fulfilling the Scripture. It goes beyond explicit quotes of Scripture. Sometimes it's eluding the Scripture without quoting it and rewriting a passage about Jesus modeled after an Old Testament character, like Moses or Elijah or Elisha. This has been long known and understood. What hasn't been accepted, ubiquitous in the field, because everyone's like, that's kosher. Pun intended. It's Jewish, so it's okay. As soon as you touch Greek or Roman, that's pagan. And they're allergic to pagan. They're allergic.
Can't be modeled after any pagan.
Because the idea that is that Christians and Jews are part of the tradition that goes back to Moses, but the pagans are the heathen.
The polytheists.
So they worship demons. And if there's no way that these great Christians would ever draw from those guys. But the letter from Titus, for example, literally quotes word for word that stuff that you find in
Epimenides?
Callimachus, and which goes back to Epimenides.
Right.
They both do it. Which also goes back to a Homeric story, quoting Medea, which is a pagan myth about Medea being judged. It's Medea, Aphrodite, Venus, the goddess, and Helen. I'm sorry, not Helen's not here. It's Medea, Aphrodite, and Hera, and they're being judged by Paris to see who's the most beautiful, who's the fairest of them all.
Who's the hottest?
Everyone's heard this myth before.
Who's the hottest?
Yeah. And when Medea loses, she goes, "Cretans are always liars." And it starts this famous phrase. And then we find that in the epistles of the New Testament. Cretans are always liars. So that right there is a prime example of an objective. There is no opinion on if I think it's drawing from paganism. It is.
Clearly.
And then you have in Revelation. Revelation makes references to Hades, Thanatos, Apollo, Tartarus, all constantly referencing pagan gods. And scholars go, well, it's just being kind of allegorical. It's like, yeah, that's the point of paganism. It's always allegorical. That's the point. It's pagan. So I just think it's funny how they'll go, you'll get these New Testament scholars who kind of have a bias, and you'll bring this up, and they'll go, well, I think that the New Testament authors they're not drawing from the pagan myths. They're drawing from the philosophers of the Greeks, and they twist it. They want to like clean it out a little bit. It's philosophy. They're drawing from the philosophy, not the dirty pagan stuff. Yeah. This is the philosophy. Well, the pagan philosophers are pagans. That's the point. They're philosophers. They're like, you cannot separate philosophy from pagan theology. They're the same people.
So little history in the scholarship as to why that is. In the early 19th, 18th to 19th century, many scholars, specifically Germans,
even
were
up to the
cutting
20th,
edge.
early 20th century too.
Early 20th, they were the cutting edge scholars.
Yeah.
Germans were ahead of everyone, literally.
Yes.
And even to this day, it's arguably still the case in some situations. Now, the Germans took it
Bruno Bauer,
man,
those guys.
These guys were gangster. Okay.
Really?
They went into the weeds. Like there's books.
German biblical scholarship was cutting edge way before.
Cutting edge.
Yeah.
What they did though is they went full on like, let's explain everything from pagan Roman sources and Greek sources.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when we discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947 and a lot of Jewish literature, that we went, hold on, some of these elements that we thought were exclusively pagan are actually in Jewish sources. Enoch and other things that we rediscovered in the early 1900s, and like Ethiopic church had it, but we like made this a thing, right? And made it in origins of Christian studies. We started realizing maybe there's something to this and some of this Dead Sea Scroll material. So then the pendulum swung, as we talked about in the earlier episode. I constantly talk about pendulums, right? Well, the pendulum swung and conservatives grabbed a hold of this and said, we can explain everything through Jewish antecedents,
Right.
Jewish prior examples. You don't need the pagan. Well, that's going too far too. So we found, you know what we found out? That Jews were heavily and thoroughly already Hellenized. So the best way to put it is Jews already had a pagan daddy.
Yeah.
Centuries prior to Christianity, the Jews were already hugging Dionysus' feet.
That's the big red pill, is when you find out that first you think the question is the New Testament drawing from pure Jewish, or is it drawing from Greek and Jewish? Then you find out that there is no pure Jewish, that the Jewish writers of the time period were already going to the Greeks and borrowing from the Greeks, borrowing from the Hittites, borrowing from the Egyptians, borrowing from the Romans, borrowing from whoever. And they're all kind of borrowing from each other. It's not like we had this idea in our head that Judaism was like this special offshoot in its own category. Like there's these Jews over here in Judea, and then the rest of the world's pagan. And the pagans are all like borrowing from each other.
They're all sharing.
Yeah, but except for these people right here in this little, they're like, they have a force field around them.
Yeah.
And they're special and they're completely blocked off from everyone else. It's like, no, they're part of the same Mediterranean world as everyone else.
What do you think the fear is in acknowledging, let's say that you guys are right and that they did borrow from pagan and the Jews were Hellenized. What is wrong with that?
Because it takes away the sacredness of the story that Moses was handed these from God. Remember, you and I talked about earlier how Plato mentions, if you want a republic to operate well, if you want everyone to obey, you don't want corruption, you need the people in the republic to believe that these gods were given, that the laws were handed down from antiquity by the gods themselves to the heroes. And so with Judaism, the idea is Moses got these laws from God on Mount Sinai, and they were given from God to man, no intermediary. That's it. And they follow these traditions perfectly. They never let any outside influence come in, and they kept their traditions completely intact all the way down to the first century. That's why they resist any idea of bringing up Hellenism. They go, no, look at Maccabees. Maccabees is a story about rejecting Hellenism. It's like, yeah, well, in the Roman period, we could talk about how the Roman imperial cult also rejected Hellenism at times. They had the outlaw of the Bacchanalias in 186 BCE, which is the same time period as the Maccabees, 2nd century BCE.
Strange.
So you can have both can be true. You can have instances of rejection of borrowing, like for example, the Maccabees fighting the Seleucid Greeks and taking away the temple of Zeus and replacing it with Yahweh. But that can be true at the same time as they're also adopting these other things that they like about Greek culture. It doesn't have to be black and white.
The example I would give to make it easy for you to understand coming from your perspective is this. There was an angel named Gabriel, and he met a sacred holy man named Muhammad in a cave. And he dictated directly from Allah the special words that were divine from God to the prophet. The prophet uttered these words to people who kept them in their memory, and God retained it. When he was no longer around, they constructed the Quran out of the sacred words that were directly dictated from God to Gabriel, the angel, to the prophet Muhammad as the final prophet and the last words that everyone on earth should obey. This came from God. And there's a story about sleepers in a cave. And when they went to sleep in this cave, hundreds of years later, they wake up and they don't even realize that they've been asleep that long. And the whole world has turned Muslim when it was once polytheistic, pagan. Well, that story is actually found in an earlier Christian story about the sleepers of Ephesus.
Exact same story.
And in that case,
it's a story about Christians going to sleep under pagan times, waking up, same 7 people too. Same amount of people. They go into a cave, they wake up 300 years later, and now it's under the reign of Constantine.
It's Christian.
Or Theodosius.
Yeah.
Now, this story is borrowed from a story, or there's 2 stories that I know that I've documented from Epimenides, the same guy that gets mentioned, like this older poet that Paul is mentioning. And Epimenides, in this writing, a guy goes to a cave. I can't remember the exact journey he's on, but he goes and falls asleep in a cave for 57 years, but he thought he only took a quick nap. He wakes up, and it's a Zeus's cave. What I'm saying is these stories pass along.
Yeah,
sure.
Human thumbprint. Well, what does it do if I told you that your neighbor's already telling this story and you're telling me God told an angel in a cave to a man and you think you're the one?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, they were telling this kind of story 300, 400 years ago. Did God really tell this guy, or did they say that to give their guy the credit and the clout? Well, if I can show that Christianity like that is built in that fashion based on prior antecedents from Greek, Roman, and Jewish folklore, legend, and myth, then why do you think this is really divinely inspired? If it is, then you should be consistent. And this is I've been saying this from day one. If you think the Christian one is divine, then you should think that Dionysus and Asclepius and Heracles and Attis and all of them are also divine. Because the same walking like a duck and talking like a duck and looking like a duck, quacking like a duck, flying like a duck, it does all of that. Now, you can disagree with elements of it, but if you have that belief, then you're being inconsistent. And me and Neal are trying to point this out. You got a supernatural worldview? Cool. I can show you supernatural texts that even outperform the New Testament. Why not believe those? Why are we limiting our scope?
Yeah, and they become great skeptics for those texts.
All
of a sudden, you can go, that doesn't sound right. That defies science. And they're like, wait a minute. Listen to how you sound when you're talking about this particular text. But then when it's your own, all of a sudden it's like you're thinking of ways to. Another example of that, though, that I think is the most like obvious of borrowing from Greek that we find in Genesis, the original myth of the Jewish foundation, is the story of Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac. And everyone thinks this story is Jewish history, ancient, going back to Ur, Sumer, or whatever, Babylon. But like then once you start finding out that there's a version of Homer,
8th century poet,
an 8th century poet, where he talks about Agamemnon, who's the king of the Achaeans who fights the Trojans in the Trojan War.
Proto-Greeks.
He has a daughter named Iphigenia.
Yep.
And his daughter, or he gets an omen from the priest that says, in order to attack the Trojans, this is right before the Trojan War in the Iliad, in order to attack the Trojans, you must sacrifice your only daughter to get the good green light from the gods.
Because the winds would not pick up their sails to leave the port.
Yeah, and that's exactly. The point is, though, he takes his daughter, brings her up on a mountain, ties her up to a pyre, and he's about to take the knife and sacrifice her. And then Artemis, or in some versions, a messenger of Artemis, an angel, angelos, which was messenger in Greek, of Artemis, comes and stops him, transports Iphigenia to another place. She becomes either a goddess in some versions or a priest of Artemis, and then replaces it with a deer. In the story of Genesis, you have Abraham being told that he needs to sacrifice his only son, Isaac, to God to show his willingness to follow God. He brings him up on a mountain, ties him up to a pyre, is about to sacrifice him, and then an angel stops him and then replaces Isaac, not with a deer, with a ram in a thicket. And it's like, okay, this is the same story with a few details. One of them's a ram, one of them's a deer. There's reasons why, there's theological reasons why. But how do we know which one's first? Well, we find that story in Greek sources well into the 5th, 6th, 7th century BCE, Herodotus makes mention of it. The book of Genesis is not cited by anybody, ever. Not a single person mentions Genesis in any of the Greek sources, any of the Egyptian sources, any Judean sources. any sources anywhere until right around like the 3rd century BCE.
Hellenistic period.
Yeah. So this is like a telltale sign that we already have Greek influences on the Old Testament in Genesis.
Or at least a common myth that is so similar that they're lifting a similar trope and idea. And I like to go to the other Greek example from Jason and the Argonauts.
Oh, yeah.
In that example, it even has like more overlap with Abraham, in my opinion, in the overall scheme, because he's promised a land. Abraham is the promised land, okay? He's promised a land, and 4 generations later, they get it, okay? But in the myth, there's also a stutterer, like Aaron is stutters, or Moses stutters, and Aaron is his spokesperson.
Yeah.
So in this Jason and the Argonauts myth, one of them is a stutterer. There's elements that you see that like, where'd this come from? The other interesting thing is the animal in this case. So the king Athamas, he ends up divorcing his wife. I think Ino, the cloud goddess, or one of these. The new wife is jealous, doesn't like the kids, okay? He has twins. He has Heli, which is where we get Hellespont from, and you'll find out about the Sea of Hellespont in just a minute. And then you have so Athamos and Heli. So there's twins, right? Well, the new wife doesn't like them. So the wife tells the messengers to say that the oracle at Delphi said that Apollo said, in order to get rid of this drought, they're going through a famine right now, you need to sacrifice your children. And so that is what the message of God sent to the king, and the king is faithful to the God. Faithfulness plays a significant role with Abraham and in this myth. And what happens is he takes his kids up, he puts the pyre together, and he's getting ready to sacrifice them on the altar. And as he begins to do so, a golden fleeced ram flies in, same animal that gets caught in a thicket with Abraham, flies in, picks up both the kids. Heli falls off over the ocean, and that's why they named it Hellespont. But the son makes it to the end, and in honor of the god for saving him, Apollo, the god, catches the whole thing. He sacrifices the ram and then hangs the golden fleece on a thicket, on a tree. So the order of events are different, but the elements are similar.
You can see that there's some sort of sacrifice myth that was floating around the Mediterranean about being faithful to God, and even if you had to sacrifice your child, you would do it.
Yep.
And that makes its way into the Old Testament. But you can see it all over the place in all these other pagan myths.
Did anyone ever write about these commonalities?
Yes.
And were
Bruce
they just
Loudon.
Academics?
Yeah.
academics?
Very few.
Yeah, we didn't discover this.
But no, like church fathers? No one?
No, church fathers stay away from this. Actually, no, Eusebius. Eusebius does have a book
bring
called
this one up.
Preparation for the Gospel.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called Preparation for the Gospel.
This one's good.
4th century AD. And the entire text is about pointing to different myths, Phoenician myths, Egyptian myths, Greek myths, Babylonian myths. And basically what he's doing is he's going, look, even outside of the Old Testament, even outside of the Hebrew Bible, there are instances where the pagans were being divinely inspired, and that their pagan myths were pointing to Jesus. And he uses examples of this idea of the god El, who the god El is the god of the Hebrew Bible in the Hebrew Bible. Like, that's the name El.
But
El
he's also
or Yahweh.
Kronos.
But he goes, this god who the Greeks call Kronos,
Yep.
or Saturn, sacrifices his only begotten son, Yedud, and after that day, he circumcised himself and made it a custom among the Phoenicians to do that. And then a couple paragraphs later, he goes, and this very myth of the God sacrificing his only begotten son was important for Jesus being the only begotten son sacrificed for mankind. And so you can see that church fathers were going around and looking at these myths and going, oh, it's everywhere. Divine inspiration is found in all these places. But you also asked if other scholars have talked about this, and you said not many. But actually, if you go back to before early 20th century, James Fraser, and then Kyle Karenyi and those guys, Kenneth Guthrie, they were big into pointing this stuff out. Yeah. This was a big popular thing in scholarship in English, German, and even American circles from the 19th to the 20th century. And then there was like a big pushback against it in the around 1950s to 70s for some reason.
I think it was post Holocaust sympathies as well. So
Yeah.
there was a combination.
There was a lot of cultural things happening where all of a
Mhm.
sudden people stopped looking at pagan stuff and comparing it. And then James Frazer got a bad rap. James Frazer came up with the term dying and rising God. That became taboo. But then Bruce Loudon, Thomas L. Thompson, those guys in the Copenhagen school recently, in the last 20 years, have started to come back and bring this back. Dennis MacDonald, he wrote the Dionysian Gospel. Luke and Homer and Virgil. So in the last 15 to 20 years, there's been a new resurgence of scholars pointing out, wait a minute, we got to start looking at the pagan myths again. Bruce Loudon wrote about the whole Iphigenia being sacrificed. We talk to scholars all the time who point out that Middle Platonism is all in the New Testament. Robin Faith Walsh says this. You mentioned the book, the latest book that just came out. He's talking about epiphany in chapter 3 of that book, how there's different epiphanies of gods that are similar to Jesus.
Yep.
So it's coming back big time.
What's y'all's comments section like?
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Great question.
A lot of theological wars going on.
Oh my god.
dude. We do a live stream. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. Like they're having their own battles and arguments. And sometimes their debates are more interesting than what we're talking about. That's
Y'all
how
ever
crazy.
divert? Oh, look at this. They're talking about in the comments.
Well, he mentioned Yay Dude, and that went probably over your head because you probably never heard of this.
Never heard of Yay.
Yay Dude.
This is
Yeah.
Yahweh. Okay.
Ah.
But what's interesting is, and this was identified by like Giovanni Garbini and others, but he's like mid 1900s scholar. And Yay Dude is the son of El in this Phoenician myth. He's the only begotten son. This is Yahweh.
El is Yahweh.
No,
No.
not
Well,
Yay
this,
Dude is
El
Yahweh.
becomes
Not in
Yahweh
this-
in the Hebrew
but
Bible.
not in this Phoenician myth.
yeah.
In this Phoenician myth, which is
Oh.
older,
Yeah.
it's older. And he
Older.
hearkens back to an older thing. There's my King James coming out of me, okay?
Yeah.
And he's finding this where El is the father of Yahweh. Yahweh has a dad. And his dad in this Phoenician myth actually dies. You can tell that he was a king who passed away. It mentions him being passed away. But it was also something that is interesting in that story that Eusebius points out. He's using a scholar named Philo-Biblos, and Philo-Biblos is dependent on another earlier source that's Sanchoniathon and this priest from Phoenicia, an ancient source he's working off
And
of.
it turns out that scholars have compared the Ugaritic myths to this Phoenician myth, and it checks out.
It checks out.
Yeah.
And what at the end of this
And,
little
by the way,
quote,
Ugaritic means Bronze Age Canaanite. That's what it means.
yeah, just the Canaanites,
Okay.
right there in like
From like
Rosh, Shamra.
Yeah,
and
from like
stuff.
1000 BC to 2000 BC in that period.
Yeah, and in that Eusebius quote at the end, he says that he dressed him in royal apparel, and then sacrificed his only begotten son.
Which is interesting. That's what happened to Jesus in the Gospels.
That's the point.
Jesus is put on purple and put on a crown of thorns, and it calls him the king of the Jews. It's like a mockery of that whole, of this whole idea of the king being sacrificed. But there's even in Babylon, they had this weird human sacrifice ritual they used to do in Babylon, where they would take a false king. If the prophet got a bad portent in the sky or something, like there's a shooting star that went in the wrong direction, and it's like, oh no, this is bad. What they would do was they would take the king, whoever's king of Babylon, and they would take him out of power, and he would be exiled. But this was all part of the plan. He would go and live in another city, and they would put in a new king from the lower classes of society. They would take some poor slave and hey, you're the new king now. And they would dress him up in purple. They would put a crown on his head. They would give him all the women and all the money for a few weeks, and he would live like a king. And then they'd sacrifice him.
No
That
way.
was how you
Dead
got rid of
serious.
it. This is a Babylonian tradition.
And
Did
then
the guy who gets promoted to king know?
Yeah,
Is he like going out on a high note?
But I don't know what the primary sources actually say that.
I don't know either, but I would imagine.
But it's.
I mean,
that's
after
a really good question.
After the first guy,
yeah,
Yeah, but
you can see it happen, right?
The question that comes to my mind, and I don't know if this is a question that would come to yours, but this is the logical question that comes to my mind. And that is, if you find a story 1,000 years before your guy, where he is the only begotten, he is a chosen son of a god, he dies on behalf of the people in order to save them from whatever, it's a famine, it's a drought, it could be sin, it could be whatever. You find the same thing happening in a much, much older story.
1,000 years
At least.
earlier.
at least.
Golly.
And then you're sitting here going, okay, can you see how
In the
that
same
might
area
impact
of the world.
the same area of the world, all in the Middle East, right there in the Eastern Mediterranean, all the way up into the Aegean and the Roman area, even into Egypt, all the way here in Mesopotamia, which is just, it's in the same area of the world. And the question is, why do you think yours is true, but not these? And this is the question I had to ask, and Neal's had to ask. And we go, you know, we fell in love with these things after studying them long enough. Because at first, I had a chip on my shoulder. You know, I told my story, and it was like fundamentalist, and you're like, oh, Derek, you just did this cool thing. No, there was a moment where I'm like, I'm going to tell these apologists why they're lying. I'm going to let them know why they're full of shit. And I want them to see the shit. I want them to be like a dog pooped on the carpet, put his nose in it, let him see the shit.
Do you feel betrayed?
In a sense, you are not told the truth. And in a sense, you're kind of a prisoner of these thoughts. They tell you what is and what isn't. And there's scholars that me and Neal interview. They don't tell us what to think. They just tell us how to think. We make up our own minds. And I want others to have that freedom. That alone is worth 1,000,000 shekels. If you have the freedom to explore, that can be your religious experience. There's a famous debate that happened between a scholar named Paula Fredrickson and a rabbi over the Talmud and Mishnah. And the rabbi is going on. He's just fully passionate, extremely emotional about how you are misinterpreting the Mishnah and Talmud. You want to know the who, what, when, where, why, and how. You want all this historical facts and data. That's not what it's for. It's meant for your application and how to live and improve a spiritual life toward God. When she got up, she cooked the shit out of it. She let him know, Rabbi, listen, I respect your decision to read this material that way, and you have your religious experience through that. My religious experience is to know why in the 7th century there'd be a story of a rabbi where a young man thinks his wife has been unfaithful, and he really thinks that she has slept with someone before him and she's not a virgin on the night they're going to get married. He brings her to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, I need to know if she's been faithful. And so they had a custom. She'd sit on a barrel of wine, and the rabbi would test it, and he'd go to smell her breath. And if the smell of wine came from her breath, then her hymen has been removed. Therefore, she's lost her virginity. Then all of a sudden she sits. The rabbi goes, I smell no wine, my young man. She's been faithful. And they go home. He marries her happily ever after. Now, many scholars who've studied the who, what, when, where, and why, right, find out the rabbi's actually looking out for the young girl.
Sure.
He's doing a good deed, because even if she wasn't a virgin, he would have still done it so that the man would have been thinking that she was a virgin, but also that their lives would have been good. He was in that case, he was a good person to help in their custom.
He had their life in his hands.
That's the
like
point.
Like a noble lie.
Like a noble lie.
Totally.
But she said to this rabbi she's debating, my friend, that's my religious experience. Don't take it from me. Don't take what my experience is. So me and Neal have our own, we go through the muse. There are moments where I'm listening to a story of Dionysus that I feel like I'm listening to Jesus. How as a Christian I felt
and
when I
you
was
don't
hearing
like
Jesus.
being denied that.
I want everyone to be able to experience that.
Right.
That's the unfortunate sad part, because we have walls. Our faith causes walls between us and the other. And I'm like, dude, if you just knew how much they are indebted to the earlier Greeks that you so are ready to be allergic to, they are indebted to these Greeks. They are indebted to these other ideas. And they pretend that this dropped out of the sky and God just spoke, and therefore, like the Muslims do with Muhammad, with Gabriel in the cave. Little do you know that actually these stories come from earlier stories and they're indebted. So that's...
Are you saying that then it doesn't make those stories any less true or important or meaningful in interpreting your faith? It's just that it doesn't have to rely on the uniqueness of the story. It's more that there's a meaning behind that story. Is that kind of how you feel?
How would you feel if I told you at the end of the day that Lord of the Rings never really happened? Would it hurt your feelings?
No.
What if you were raised to believe it did?
Right.
Okay. That's kind of...
You would feel betrayed.
I would feel betrayed. Now, someone will mock that. And I actually had a Muslim, when I compared Quran to like using Lord of the Rings or art like that. And I finally was thinking, Virgil's Aeneid. Let's give a real life example of an origin myth that's trying to actually say how Rome came to be.
Yeah.
And it takes like realistic places and things.
It's not Lord of the Rings.
It's a fiction.
It's on Earth. Yeah.
Right.
It's a fiction.
It's on Earth.
There probably were Romans who heard this and believed it. Not higher educated ones, but people in the Roman Empire believed this story. But the higher ones knew what they were dealing with. And they knew that the power was truly in this thing you're describing. It's in the story, man. If we can get past the BS that this happened, Santa Claus did not go down your chimney. Great story to tell children. I think it's still useful to tell children.
And St. Nick's a real person.
St. Nick's a real dude.
We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
He's done more than that about St. Nick. Did you know St. Nicholas punched a dude in the face?
No.
At the Council of Nicaea.
He was at the Council of Nicaea, wasn't he?
Now, some people doubt
I thought he
it,
punched him, but
Wait, St. Nicholas was at the Council of
He was
Nicaea?
at the Council of Nicaea.
Santa
and
Claus.
He slapped Bishop. Apparently, one of the sources says he slapped Bishop Arius in the face, who was the non-Trinitarian.
yeah. So Santa's gangster. Don't take his cookies and milk.
He'll
You know what I'm
slap
saying?
you. Yeah.
Shoot, dude.
There's also later stories about him throwing money into people's houses through the window, like the chimney thing. So there's like, you can see the legends forming, getting more and more grand as time goes on. And then eventually, by the time you get to the 20th century, you have a full-blown magic man flying in the sky with reindeer. Like, it's funny how that works.
Absolutely, man.
It's like saying Jesus can be real without being real, though, in a way, because like this thought, this experience.
Because the question is, Santa Claus real? How do you answer that? You can say no and be, that's true. Santa Claus is not real. Is Santa Claus a real person that it's based on? That's true too.
Yeah.
So maybe Jesus is similar to that. You know?
It could be, and I think me and him tend to lean there was a guy. But the St. Nicholas is irrelevant to our practice of Christmas.
Right.
So if there was a historical Jesus, we've lost that guy in faith. The Superman is no longer Clark Kent, okay? Jesus is Superman now. We have lost the normal news station Clark Kent a long time ago, right at its origins, with him seated at the right hand and walking on water. Once you wrote those stories, you kind of lost the historical dude and he's irrelevant. What's powerful is the myths, the stories about
The Avatar.
The Avatar. And that's exactly what Richard Miller calls him in his book, Resurrection and Reception in Early Christianity, when he points out Jesus becomes a philosophical tool to the cult. And like you said, you know, he's not real, but he's real. That's why there's 4 gospels. There's 4 gospels because they don't have the same mission or mindset of what they're actually portraying. They have overlap. There's similarities. Synoptic. They're seeing the same eye. They're similar, but they're not the same. They contradict on purpose. Their intentions and goals are different, and the way they view Jesus is radically different in many ways, especially in the Gospel of John. So me and Neal have been looking at this going, okay, we've kind of come full circle and we can dig this stuff and go, man, this is deep. There's some good stuff there. I can do it with Islam. And I can get in, believe it or not, you like Westerners don't really like Muslims or Islam or whatever. No, dude, like I can dig some of this stuff. Yeah, I can also call the bullshit. 6-year-olds marrying and active at 9, we can call that out. We can call out the nonsense that we find in Islam the same way we can call it out in Christianity. And we have that freedom, the liberty that our founding fathers were fighting for, dude. That's really what they were fighting for all along. Religious freedom to be able to do this. And if your religion is making you feel like you couldn't or shouldn't, you might need to check your religion at the door and say, no. Maybe God is in me, okay? It's beyond the book. It's beyond the thing. It's a living thing. I am the temple. I am the one that needs to live this thing out. If you're a person of faith, that's my recommendation. I mean, we've been down the religious fundamentalist route.
I mean, yeah, I think religion as a force is ultimately good. I do. I don't think atheism I think a lot of atheists tend to forget what religion can do for people. When loved ones die, what do people turn to? They turn to religion. They go to a church. They bury their dead within a church thing. They do all this stuff, and they hope that their loved ones have passed on to a better place. That is something that you can't take away from people. I just don't think atheists think about that enough.
Yeah.
What religion can do for people in tough times, burying their loved ones, marriage, all these things that people appeal to their different faiths to. And I just don't think there's a strong argument against that at all.
I don't think you could ever, there's nothing that will ever be able to give you the placebo you need or whatever it might be in that. And I remember my best friend overdosed. His name's Al. He died of fentanyl. brain dead. After 30 minutes, they finally got him and he was done. His brain was done. He hadn't had oxygen. His sister called me the next day. I'm already in the skeptic zone in my life. And she's like crying. I could barely understand what she's saying. And she's like, you know what? He was such a good person that God took him. So she's rationalizing. She's trying to understand why my brother? He was so good. God took him from the earth before he suffered anymore. That was her way of understanding it. And she said, and now he's in heaven. And you know what I did? I had to explain to her why she's incorrect. And I had to correct her bullshit and tell, no. I said, you're right.
Right.
You're right.
What
the hell kind of person would I be?
That's right. Why would you ever go into that situation and say, well, actually, that's irrational what you just did.
Exactly.
It's actually very rational. It's very rational to think that way.
Yeah.
Even though it might not be scientifically accurate or
and ultimately,
provable, it's a rational thing to do as far as getting people to just kind of calm themselves and console themselves.
And also, we don't know.
It could be true.
And so
we don't ultimately
you
know.
better
People could be in
you
a
better
better
be
place.
careful saying I'm 100% right.
Let me take my mask off, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I
you
agree
better
with
be
that.
careful.
I agree.
Hey.
And I do hope that there's something after this. I do.
I do too. And I've said that earlier to them. I'm like, dude, I am not that kind of guy who's like, when it ends, it ends. Now, I'm not going to say, I'm alive, so I want to be present for the party, and I will hate to say goodbye. At the same time, I won't, if I'm right, I'm not going to be worried about it anyway.
Because you're not going to know.
It's over.
It's over.
But at the end of the day, I do want there to be a party after this, and we actually can go, you know what, this is great. There's something cool about that, and you can't give that when it ends.
That's what the Epicureans taught, that if there's nothing after this, who cares? You won't know that you're dead.
Yeah.
If there is something after this, great.
I tend to think they're right.
That's kind of it's an interesting paradox because you don't have to worry either way.
There's a funny stand-up. If you've never, Dane Cook, the stand-up comedian. Yeah. Okay, dude, one of his favorite, in my opinion, was The Vicious Circle. Okay, he did this awesome skit, and in one of the scenes, he said, "I was at the airport and I sneezed, and it's just like, oh no, this guy sneezed. This guy next to him sneezes, is like, what's that?" And he's like, examples like debris, and he's just so funny how he does his stand-up, and it's all over me. And I just look at him and I like say, "God bless you." And really what I was saying is like, what the fuck, dude? And he's just being blunt, right? And all of a sudden, the guy's like, I don't believe in God. Like some response, right? He's mocking the guy's answer. And he's like, dude, like now we get into this like debate over whether God exists or not. You just sneeze your snot all over me, you asshole. So they're arguing, right? And the guy's like, and he's like, oh yeah? He says, well, what do you believe? And he's like, well, I'm a Catholic. I think, when I die, I'm going to go to heaven. And he's doing all these funny little actions. And he's like, I'm going to see my family. Hey, what's up? And the guy's like, oh, that's so stupid. And he's like, well, what do you believe? And Dane Cook's asking the atheist. And the atheist is like, when I die, I know what's going to happen to me when I die. When I die, I'm going to become one with the earth, becoming fertilizer. And I'm actually going to grow into a pretty tree. Right? And he's like laughing back at him like, that's what you're going to be? You think that's it? Finally, he walks away and he just said, you know what? I do hope he becomes a tree. Some grisly ass, crazy ass northern like jackhammer guy walks in the wood with an axe, pissed grabs that tree, just starts hacking the hell out of it, drags it down to the wood mine. They grind it down and they stamp a Bible on it. And it was like, I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I was laughing so hard, man. It was so good.
Universe powered by irony. Yeah.
Right?
How much research do you guys do on a weekly basis? How much reading are you doing?
Every day, yeah.
How many hours a week do you think you guys are watching something educational, reading a text, if you had to estimate?
Dude, I think you and me have slowed down on
100?
watching and got more into reading over these years.
Yeah.
YouTube videos were cool and we could still get into them once in a while, but like, dude, at this point, it's like we're reading primary sources, we're reading the scholarship, we're into reading more now than ever.
It's definitely every night when I'm laying down.
It is.
Definitely.
You think at least 10 hours a week, 20 hours, 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean,
At
consistently, that's a lot.
That's a lot, man.
That's a lot.
At least every day we're reading somehow, some way, in some function, whether it's to edit a documentary or a video or something in relation to an upcoming interview, whatever. I'm at least reading an hour or two a day, at least, of material. And then editing, and then I'm checking on the kids. I'm doing stuff multitasking, but I'd say we at least do that. I mean, he sometimes is sending me pictures at night of screenshots of moments in these books, and I'm like, dude, I don't even know where any scholars sometimes find some of the stuff. Like this, we're digging up old fossils of really good information that nobody's talking about. No one knows about this on YouTube. And you would think, this is my little criticism of atheists online. All the atheists who want to debunk religion, dude, I feel like they don't, I get it, it's easy. It's easy what they do. Just prove that your God exists, dude.
They put the onus on the other.
Yeah.
They don't do any research.
It's incumbent upon you to prove your case, dude. Like, prove that Jesus walked out of that tomb alive. Huh?
Yeah, it gets played out after a while.
It's so repetitive, and at some point,
and another thing they want to do is they want to, a lot of these channels, they just want to throw an expert on screen and go, tell us why it's fake. And then they just want to it's just kind of what you see a lot. You know,
they're outsourcing it.
Yeah, they just want to Bart Ehrman's here. Bart Ehrman, tell us why Christianity's fake. I win. And it's like, all right, we've seen this happen a million times. You know what I mean?
And at the end of the day, I think what we're doing is a much harder path that they don't want to take. That is a historical, research of we want to know the nuts and bolts of this religion. And he's gotten into the languages more than I have. Eventually I'll get into them more, but when you get to this level of what a word means and how a word is lifted from an earlier word, I'll give you an example. In the beginning of the Gospel of Luke, it says that Jesus was wrapped in swaddling cloth. What's that mean?
No idea.
Think about what it said. What does it say?
Wrapped in a piece of cloth.
Yeah, he is,
Swaddled.
Right? Swaddling cloth, right?
Yeah.
Like a baby's wrapped
Something
in
for a
cloth.
baby,
Right?
Like a swaddle, yeah.
Well, that Greek word, and I don't know the Greek word off the top of my head, but Mark G. Bilby sent me an article, and it was like a 50-page article on this one word in Luke. You will not believe how deep this goes. It goes right back to the plays of Aeschylus and Euripides. And this is the only other place that Greek word is used for a god that is born as an infant, a god man that is wrapped in swaddling cloth. One Greek word takes you down a rabbit trail. If atheists really wanted to show that this material isn't true and Christians should doubt it, the approach I think is a really good one is to show that this is fictive. It's fictive like the plays of Euripides, like, Aeschylus and others who've written these fantastic stories about these gods and heroes, and you don't believe those. So when they're applying the same language, the same rules, the same tropes and themes and elements that you do in all these fictions, one of them is like an omniscient author. So if you read the Gospels, there's material in there, you go, how did this writer even know that? No one was there. Remember Jesus goes and prays in the garden? All the disciples are asleep. The author says he prays, and these are the words that Jesus said. Well, hold on. If you read the story on, he's immediately captured by Roman soldiers, or Jewish Roman soldiers who take him to a little, he's being trial.
He never had time to tell anybody.
No one knows.
Right.
How does the author know what Jesus said in the garden? That is fiction. Yeah. It's called omniscient author. It's placing you as God, as the reader, as if you are seeing stuff, and movies do it all the time.
It's a TV show.
It's a TV show.
You can read Annals, like Tacitus wrote an Annals. And he also wrote a history. The history is more, you can see him coming out with legends and coming up with stories and side little stories. But when you read his Annals, it's just, in the 3rd year of Tiberius, this person was consul. This person became the leader of the 13th Legion. This person did this. That person did that. End of entry. Next year, in the 4th year of Tiberius, this happened. It's just little one-word sentences.
Data.
It's not. It's just no narrative. When you read the Gospels, you're taking. You get conversations between an angel and Satan or something.
Yep.
Who was there to watch that? No one.
Yeah.
So it's like you could know there's signs and ways you can tell that this is a narrative that someone's constructed. They're trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
It's not a history book.
They didn't write it with the intention of it being literal.
Yeah, they're not walking around following Jesus and writing down what's going on.
They're not documentaries.
It's not a documentary.
The problem with that assessment is 2 Peter. Someone in the name of Peter, scholars think Peter did not write this, wrote in the name of Peter, and in 2 Peter chapter 1, they say, we beheld his glory, we touched him, we saw him resurrected. We saw his glory, and they said, these are not cleverly devised myths as some would suppose, but we have beheld him ourselves. So someone lied, pretending to be Peter, and said that they saw this shit.
This is true.
So
trust me.
Yeah, trust
this
me,
is
bro.
true.
Trust me,
Trust
bro.
me.
That's basically what it comes down to.
That's the old school.
Somewhere
Trust me,
in
bro.
that early church, someone
Yeah.
is pretending to be Peter and to sell you, the Christian reader,
Yeah.
that this happened. And that's where you get into trouble, because if Christians didn't pawn this off as if, dude, you better believe this stuff happened.
Yeah.
Justin Martyr's not playing that game. Justin Martyr says, we believe nothing different from what you do about the sons of Zeus. And he lists them, the Logos, who's Hermes, and Dionysus, who's Torn, and Leda. And
He's drawing analogies to the other beliefs.
Yep.
not just analogies. He's really wanting to tell you, like, why am I being persecuted when we believe about Jesus, what you believe about them? It's the same thing.
Right.
Yep.
He's literally
cutting it both
analogous. And
ways.
apologists try to bring criticism to this.
Right.
And they try to go, come on, man, he's under threat of his life. Of course, he's just trying to make analogies. Why is it that other fathers who aren't martyrs were doing the same thing?
Right.
So they don't realize, they have no clue what's actually happening here in this material.
Yep.
So I gotta change a question a little bit. What do you guys think of Amon Hillman?
Oh, wow. I was friends with him for a long time. Actually, I was the first person to promote his YouTube. I told him to start a YouTube channel.
Really?
I helped him start his channel.
Well,
Whoa.
he learned Greek from, like, he
I
started
was
learning Greek.
I was taking Greek lessons from him, learned the basics. Then I went somewhere else for more Greek. But he had 0 subscribers, and I was live with him, and I showed everyone, subscribe to Amon Hillman, and he had 200 subscribers that night. First 200 subscribers of Lady Babylon was from my channel.
You asked them to.
Yeah. And so I was friends with him, and I promoted him. And then after a while, because he started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then he went on Danny Jones, and he exploded.
Yeah.
He was getting all this attention, and his
Very
theories,
incendiary.
and his wild theories were getting a lot of attention. Now, I've always disagreed with him on a lot of his theories.
Yeah.
And he was fine with it. Up until when he started getting really famous. And then when people started asking me, what do you think about Amon saying this? And I would go, well, I don't think he's right about this. I think he's right about this part, but I think he's wrong about that part. And then he started getting sick of me doing that. And he totally stopped talking to me.
Really?
That's it.
Can I ask
Stop
you
being my friend because I didn't believe everything he said.
about him? What's one of the more incendiary things that he is saying that you believe is right?
I think he's right about drug use in antiquity being more prevalent than people give it credit for.
Okay.
So I do think, like, in a lot of these ancient mystery rites, there was psychedelics being used. I think that gets kind of like, people kind of roll their eyes at that because they think of our society as being the same as it was back then, and it's not. People were more. I think we look at drugs more taboo than they did. I think he's right about that, and I think he's right about a lot of these sources having some pretty wild stuff in them. There's a lot of examples I can bring up, but anyways, the thing that I think he's wrong about is he totally he thinks in Mark 14 that there's a young pre-puberty child.
Be careful.
Being basically SA'd by Jesus, and his body's being used to extract venoms from it.
You know what he's talking about.
And none of that's there. What he does is he gaslights his audience. He puts the Greek on the screen and pretends that he's translating it, and he's not. He's lying about the translation.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
But he
lying.
does know Greek, but
Yes.
but he's intentionally.
That's why I thought he was lying.
It's not that he's dumb or
Or
wrong.
I didn't think he was lying. I thought he was wrong and dumb when I was on with
He
Steven.
knows what he's doing, but he's just dishonest.
like
And
Neal's
people-
convinced me that this guy's
Yeah.
deceptive.
Yeah,
Got
he's
it.
deceptive.
He's smarter than people give him credit for.
Yeah, he knows Greek. He knows Greek very well.
Dude, he's a literal philologist. He's an
Yeah.
actual, and I didn't even think he knew what he's talking about when me and Steven, my buddy Steven, did like a 5-hour hit piece. And then it was like, for me, dude, he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay. Like, just personally, he's just too much for me.
Yeah.
Right. And it's really going to boil down to the factor of Mark. It's the
Right.
gospel. It's like all the other shit. I'm like, Greeks were wild, bro. Like,
Yeah.
if you read some of the stuff they did, there was some wild stuff. But when you get to the New Testament, you have this crazy concocted hypothesis, irrelevant of religion. I mean, I'm coming at you from a skeptical angle.
Sure.
And I'm open to certain things like the secret gospel of Mark. There's some strange going on with the initiation and the nakedness and all that. Morton Smith had this. Like, you could go down a path of suggesting that. I think the closest we could get, and the guy brought this up on the Facebook group, and you and I were responding, Neal, was the using this nod with the naked boy running away, or the naked young man. He's a young man running with his tunic, if you will, his loincloth, is imitating Joseph running away from Potiphar's wife, and that he's running away nude. Well, at most, I would say that could be a scriptural allusion, but the context, she is intentionally attempting to do something to him. Whereas there is nothing of the sort in the Gospels. The guy's trying to run from the soldiers who brought knives. And one of the problems in that case is they're assuming he's violent. When he's saying, look, why'd you bring knives? Like, dude, I'm not violent. What's up? And he's running technically from the people who are bringing blades to the party to get Jesus. So what they call this is recontextualization. The big word, but it simply means oftentimes a New Testament author is doing pesher or midrash, and they quote scripture for their own intention, stripping of it its original message.
Sure.
They just kind of mid-sentence sometimes will take a sentence and boom, and apply it.
They ignore the previous 3 paragraphs and the next 3 paragraphs. And they
irrelevant of the data. And they just go, like, Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. Like, you get the whole story over here, Paul just rips it out and he uses it for his analogy. And it's stripped out of its original Hebraic context. And this happens often. Like,
taking things out of context is a very normal thing for a lot of people to do.
Very human.
1 Corinthians 7, Paul talks about getting paid. And then he uses an example. He goes, it is written, thou shalt not muzzle an oxen that threshest. You don't put on a muzzle when the oxen is in the ground, tilling your ground. Don't starve the oxen. That's the original Hebrew meaning. He goes, we know that this isn't talking about oxen. It's talking about us. So notice he's literally reading the Hebrew law.
That's how Philo was too.
Exactly. They spiritualize. And so I see no problem with nodding to a Joseph story, since Joseph has so much in common with Jesus from the Old Testament. He had 12 brothers. He's betrayed by a Judah. Literally, Judah wanted to sell him off. Judas sells him in the New Testament. Bro, fiction. I'm telling you, bro, the more you get into this, you're like, okay, what are the odds? What are the chances that all this lines up to these older stories? So,
and there's just a bunch of stuff that he needs to be central to his worldview that he refuses to actually acknowledge. Like, he'll tell people the Old Testament was written in Greek first and then translated into Hebrew. And all the evidence, all the experts, all the people who know Hebrew and know Greek, who study this stuff, all say this is wrong. In fact, he'll tell people that the Septuagint that we have today, which is a published version from 1865, it's the Septuagint, the current Septuagint that everyone looks up online. He tells him it's the original from 300 BC.
No.
Yes, he does. And I've when I was still friends with him, I showed him that the Septuagint that he thinks is the original is not only is from 1865, but I've showed him physical Greek manuscripts that you can look up online. You can look at them. We can look at the Greek. And in those Greek manuscripts, there's 5 of them that have the words Yahweh in Greek. And the new versions, they change it from Yahweh, the name of God, to the Lord. That's why our Bible say the Lord, the Lord, the Lord. Kurios is the Greek word. And I showed him that this was a change that happened around the 4th or 5th century AD from the church. He's acknowledged this to me, saw that I was right, objectively correct, and then went on with his life like it never happened. Wow. So that's how I know that he knows things, doesn't care. If it doesn't help his sort of worldview, he just discards it.
He's a zealot.
He's kind of a narcissist too, like in the sense that it's all about him, and he's gotten to this place where he needs to be right, and it's mockery for everyone else. And any criticisms he's trying to get rid of. Whereas like someone like me and Neal, we might make a claim and we might be wrong. And guess what? If we're wrong, you're gonna catch us admit or somehow nod to that exception and move the hell on. He cannot be wrong.
No, it's impossible.
He cannot.
He knows everything about everything. He's the greatest scholar to ever lived.
Dude,
even though he doesn't publish anything, he's barely taught as a professor. No one's taking him seriously. I'm just being real. Like, he's just not really he's not really an academic anymore. He's just some random guy at this point.
That's why I felt bad when you introduced this podcast with me and Neal, and you said he moved down here for you and Danny. And I was like, I'm more his bro than Danny at this point, in my opinion, because Danny is cooped up with damn Amon, in my opinion, and I wish he would kind of back off of that, because Amon is definitely not the guy that I would want to be too tight with.
Yeah, but no, he's willing to admit that he doesn't think Amon's right about everything. But the thing about Amon is he's just so Like he's got this childish mindset. For example, he cannot make money. He told me this. He's on Section 8.
He's a what?
He's on Section 8 housing welfare. He told me this.
Oh, Section 8.
He can't, he's in so much debt from his colleges that he never paid. I think it's like insane, like he's like $60,000 in debt, I think at least. Might be more than that. It's a crazy amount of debt that he has that he's hanging over his head. He got fired when he was a professor, so he never paid off his debt. And then he never worked again. And then now he can only make a certain amount of money per week that he does teaching Greek. He has to max up how much he can make or else he'll lose his benefits. He told me this when I was friends with him because I asked him when I was helping him with his YouTube channel. I was his editor. I said, why don't you, dude, you have enough to monetize now. I go, you've crossed the limit. You can now monetize your channel. You know what he told me? I can't because I'll lose my benefits. Oh. And I said, really? I said, yeah. I go, what about putting it in your daughter's name? He said, no, they'll catch me. So he didn't want to monetize because of that. That was his reason. And because of his debt. Then later on, he starts pointing the finger at me and Derek and everyone else except for Danny Jones, who has like 10 placed ads in his videos just for being monetized and making money, calling us the brothel.
The brothel,
because we make money online. Saying that we're liars and we're just making money and we're all liars and he doesn't make money online. So look, you could tell that I'm honest.
Oh, right.
But really, and he says the reason why is because I'll never make a penny off this. I'm doing this because it's my contract with the devil and I'm doing it all for this reason. He's lying. He told me that he can't make money because he'll have to lose his benefits and have to pay off his debt. So he's literally acting like a child. It's basically because he's jealous when people make money online, he can't.
How long did you guys each have your YouTube channel before it built up so much that you could do it full time?
For me, about a year, 2 years.
Whoa. Wow.
Somewhere between there.
Dude, he was working his ass off at a tire building place. And
I think I was monetized within a year.
He would work 12-hour shifts, sometimes 14, get a Red Bull, pop a Red Bull, come back, and then do recordings on his YouTube. He was about it.
Yeah.
And you could go full-time YouTube in 1 to 2 years.
Yep.
Wouldn't you say 30, 40,000 subs at the time? You were able to make enough to do what
I was able to make enough to jump ship and be on my own.
That's incredible.
Now that's consistent work though. So his videos, he's pumping out
that's
content.
A lot of work.
You got to work your ass off. So
yeah. I think for me, it was less than that in terms of, it was roughly around the same that, that I was able to go full time.
1 to 2 years.
It was, I don't know the time because I started Myth Vision like while I was working a construction job, never with the intention necessarily to go full time.
Well, and I know because when you're first starting it and you have a job, I mean, it's going to go however it's going to go because you have other responsibilities.
There were months I wouldn't do a recording too when I had started the channel. So I'd say the first 2 years were like, I wasn't really doing, but like once in a while, an internet interview with Joseph Atwell or something. And then eventually when I left that job and I was interviewing Bob Price a lot, COVID hit. So we're talking around 2019 is when I was able to spend more time at home. I worked for a rehab at the time. So I was getting paid to help people online get into a rehab and then started putting all my eggs in doing this. And eventually I got first time I ever got unemployment in my life. When COVID hit, it took 9 months for them to finally pay me because everyone under the sun in America was getting unemployment.
That's right.
And I started making enough and then had fans support me through Patreon.
Oh, cool.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I started a brothel where strippers on a pole. Well, we can't talk about that on air, but
you and Amon.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what really got me pissed when he started to lie about his own reasoning for not making money and then pointing the finger that anyone else that makes money online
is compromised.
Is somehow, like a liar, except for the people that support me, like Danny. For some reason, Danny has, I'm not even making fun of Danny for making money. Good.
I am so proud of that.
Yeah, rock out. Put on 10 placed ads per video. Monetize. Throw a bunch of ads in there. That's fine. That doesn't mean you're compromised. It just means you're making money. And then the fact that he can go on Danny Jones and have 10 ads running on his own videos so that benefits him. But then when someone criticizes him, he points the finger for them. That to me was like, dude, now I can't respect it anymore.
I think what made me more angry about it, I wouldn't give a shit what Amon said. It's when you have 300 nut jobs in your comment section literally regurgitating
He's
the
got
bullshit.
These sycophants that are obsessed.
They literally are worse than him even. in fighting his cause about the brothel and making an income online. And little do they have a clue that the whole reason he can't and won't is because he can't. Not because he wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
He would want to make bank, I'm sure, and be able to live large. Instead, it's easy when technically all this could go to hell in a handbasket and he's still provided for by our tax-paying dollars. Every one of us is providing for him to have a place to live right now.
He gets to chill at home for free, do his YouTube for fun like a little kid.
That's it.
He basically has no responsibilities. He has no bills. He's like a little kid in his little play world. And he's famous. And it's like, cool. You have a little comfortable life over there. Good. But don't turn that around and act like you're doing it because of some sort of virtue or dignity that you have. Like, bro, you're doing it because you don't want to pay off your debt and you don't want to lose your apartment. Fine. That's it. He told me that.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. You know
Look,
what I mean?
used to get food stamps and so did you.
Yeah,
There's
I've been
point
there.
where
I've been there. I'm not making fun of that.
We were low income,
Yeah.
didn't make money, we were struggling. There's a point when you make enough money, you can't get none of that.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of a leap off spot where especially when you're in addiction like me and you were, where you don't want to make more money.
Oh,
yeah.
So you
And
can
the fun-
keep making
Because there's
that
a
food
delta
stamp.
But
of
the
like
crazy
you hit
part
the
about it
threshold
is-
and then you
The
lose.
crazy part about it is he actually was making money behind the scenes off of his fans, doing little special Greek classes with them. So he was telling the public world, I don't make any money off this. Meanwhile, you come to find out he was actually pulling 20 of his fans aside every week, twice a week, to do these special paid classes. So he was making money. It was all under the table. So he's just full of shit. He's just kind of a fraud if you think about it.
Yeah.
Now,
Sounds dishonest.
I don't really wish him the worst. I hope he's fine. I hope he continues to flourish and has fans. I don't really care about his like success, but it'd be nice if he would,
chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
it is cool if he's pushing people to learn Greek. I mean,
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I hope his whole entire corner of the internet keeps doing their thing. I don't care.
Yeah.
But like they need to just stay in their own lane a little bit and recognize like we have real academics doing real academic work, and you guys are off in another place doing other things.
Not coming after you guys. That's stupid.
Right.
I want to throw a different name out there because I've been so curious. I'm not in the space very much. Wes Huff.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? You guys know anything about
I
Wes?
have a lot to say on him. I think he's one of these divinity school types who's over confident about what he knows. I've caught him a few times talking about Greek stuff and getting it wrong. That's a whole nother. I'm not going to bore you with that. But there was another time where he found a clip of me on Danny Jones saying some stuff about Mark's gospel, the long ending. He did a video response to it, criticizing it, completely dropped the ball on his criticism of me and Danny, to the point that I made a response, pointed out all of his mistakes, and it was so bad he took the video down, issued an apology, but not publicly, through someone else. He told his friend Steven to apologize to me for him. I never got an actual apology from him, but he did take the video down, and he just kind of quietly accepted his defeat, and no one knew about it.
He was on the rise.
But then the internet found out and caught wind to it, and so he got beat up for that a little bit
by some. But he had sycophants too. He had like these Christians lost their minds. He was there. He was
telling
their Hercules.
Joe Rogan that the Isaiah scroll is word for word the same as this Isaiah we have today, which is absolutely wrong.
So when you say the book of Isaiah is intact, how similar is it to the book of Isaiah that's in the Bible?
That one is fascinating. So this isn't true for all of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but when we discovered the Great Isaiah Scroll, previous to that, the earliest copy of Isaiah that we had was in the Masoretic text, which is in the Middle Ages.
Whoa.
Yeah, we literally pushed back our understanding of Isaiah 1,000 years. And the thing that really shocked scholars was that it was word for word identical to the Masoretic text.
Word for word.
Word for word.
Wow.
Yeah.
He told Joe Rogan that the Gospel of John, the physical oldest manuscript that we have, dates to the time of the eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
Completely wrong.
Whoa.
It's the second century, late second century.
Well, sometime during the second century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that he told Joe that, and it's just, he's way over his head with this, dude. These divinity school students are all like that. They get their degrees and they go, I just did 4 years of divinity school. Now I know everything. And it's
Let me pop up the one.
He's the most Dunning-Kruger mother. Sorry for my language.
Dude, so I think, look, I imagine if me and Neal met him in real life, he might be a chill dude. We don't know him personally. But I'll say this.
You guys have never met him.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, he wouldn't interview.
Actually, I'm starting to doubt that at this point because
I don't know.
Recently he tweeted out, just so you guys know, when you reply to my tweets, I don't read them. Haha. I'm like, he literally just wrote that on his tweet. What kind of how full of you are? Who does that?
Yeah.
So I don't think that comes off.
He sounds like a little
really
brat or
full
something.
of himself.
Okay. What really, I think another example is the Billy Carson stuff.
Yeah.
Where
right.
that's where his rise to fame.
That was his
That's where he
moment.
blew up.
I feel like, look, I don't want this to come off like envy or something, like jealousy or something, dude. He's got an audience. They want a hero, and he's got all the reason and clout to climb the ladder, especially when I got on Joe Rogan and everybody's pushing this kind of right-wing conservative Christian stuff going on right now in America. There's a lot of it.
Yeah, even Joe seems to be looking at Christianity.
Joe's definitely tapping in, and if he only had a conversation with me or Neal, I kid you not, if he only understood a little bit more, he might actually go, okay, I'm going to balance out my understanding. I'll have respect for these things, but like they bring a really obvious logical reason here. But he brought up shit in his debate with Billy Carson that Billy goes too far. Okay.
Right.
Billy goes too far for me. I know Billy.
We interviewed Billy.
Yeah.
Right.
He was awesome.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude goes
hard
out
working.
there in left field to me on some stuff. Okay. That I would not.
But he's not wrong about everything.
No.
He's not wrong about everything.
So when he
And there
talks
was things. There was things.
he's wrong
that
about
Billy-
some things.
There was things.
And
that
we all
Wes-
are.
I'm wrong
There
about
was
that.
Who
things
is
that
it?
Wes Huff called him out for that Wes was actually wrong about.
Yes.
And for the internet
Yes.
did not notice
They
it.
all went,
No.
huh,
Yeah.
Wes, you beat him. Ha, ha.
Yeah.
And dude, you know how he said the word for word thing about the book of Isaiah? In this debate, Billy Carson practically uses a similar kind of jargon, and he caught shit from the audience.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He said, the Enuma Elish and Genesis are like practically or almost, he says, word for word. He doesn't say they are word for word.
Right.
And then Joe goes, word for word. He goes, word for word.
Yeah.
Right. He says, like, it's almost word for word practically from the Enuma Elish. When you read it, it's not like that, but it's so overlapping.
Right.
Scholars say there's no doubt that Genesis would not exist if the Enuma Elish wasn't written.
Okay.
That goes for Deucalion and other myths. Like, these myths are dependent on earlier Mesopotamian Eastern mythologies of flood stories, right? There's some dependence going on.
Well, word for word can be literal, or it could just be a way to communicate. Like,
Yeah, it's the same
We're
story.
trying to tell the
it's
same
obvious.
story.
Yeah, but
It's obvious.
What
that
happened
it-
in that conversation was that Joe took it as a miracle.
Yeah.
He literally took it as a miracle, as if Isaiah literally is word for word
not.
the exact same text, and it's not.
Yeah.
And if his point was, no, I meant it, the meaning is practically the word for word meaning.
Well, yeah.
Joe didn't go, wow, the meaning's the same. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I can read something from the Rig Vedas that carries the same meaning, therefore miracle.
Right.
Like, you can apply this to the Quran, who's been preserved for 1,400 years.
They have
and
the
that's what-
original.
They have the
Yeah.
original, and guess what? That's exactly what Muslims do. Is they say our Quran is preserved from the prophet's
It's
lips.
the original.
Yeah.
It is word for word, right?
Yeah.
So he said that, but I think the problems were even in his assessment of Genesis and its dependence on earlier mythology.
Mm.
Dude, Billy's right.
Mm.
There is some earlier dependence that goes into the Middle East, period,
Mhm.
the Mesopotamian world. And the Enuma Elish and the Gilgamesh epic are good candidates for that.
Sure.
Potentially Atrahasis as well. But I say that to say, when he came in and acted like Genesis is unique in every sense, like man is made in the image of God, and all of these aspects that he believes are only unique to Genesis, when you pick this shit apart and you get into the weeds, you realize how wrong he is.
Yeah.
You just find out he's just full of it, and he's regurgitating what apologetics does.
Wes's whole project is to make the Bible right. And he's going to do it at all costs. He's not being objective. He's not being honest. He's trying to make people think the Bible is right. That's it.
Man, that was my gut feeling when I
Yeah.
first saw him speaking online.
I think it's
was like,
obvious, but it surprises
Yeah.
me how much he gets people to think that it's true. He really
he doesn't
has,
have to make them think it's true. That's the
They
sad
want
part.
it to be true. That
There's an audience
Yeah.
that's already hungry and
Well,
desperate for
yeah.
someone to give them what they're looking
What's
for.
happening is the work that you guys do is very hard and very time consuming, and you have to put a lot of brain power into it. You think about it when you're not thinking about it. And sometimes it's nice when you believe something and someone else seems to have done all that hard work and they get to say stuff and you get to go, oh, okay, they're right. I don't have to think about it. And so
That's true.
Appeal to authority, a different authority.
You appeal to a different authority because now I don't have to go look it all up.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to dig
But it
into all
also
this
helps
stuff.
you feel good, warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, that's the point.
They get their warm and fuzzies from it, and they get to walk away. Whereas me and Neal
not do any work.
are like, we just want the data, the facts.
And more than the warm and fuzzies, nothing gives you a spine like dogma. If you have the right dogma, man, you're the rightest person in the world.
Well, that's why you're Muslim.
You're on a divine mission
Yeah.
that I need. This is my mission, and I'm sent from God. Blah blah blah. Yeah, that's what dogma does to people.
Yeah, dude.
Puts them in this state of being a main character. Like, I think Wes probably thinks in the back of his mind that he's like fighting for the good for good. Like, he thinks he's
100%.
doing the right thing.
Yeah.
He absolutely does.
Yeah.
I think he thinks that in the front of his mind. He probably would say that straight
I
to
think
you.
you're right.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
doing
he
the
thinks
Lord's
he's-
work.
And guess
He
what?
thinks he's supposed
I
to
think
lie
the
a little
same
bit.
damn thing. And
Yeah.
so does Neal.
That's right.
We think the same exact thing, and we think we believe firmly we're on the side of fact. Okay.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think once you recognize the data and are being honest with the data, then negotiate your truth from there. You don't need to make up data and then try to come up with, well, I believe this is true. Now let me make it fit that. Let's get straight to the fact, bro. What is this actually saying? Let's be real and honest with it. And then I can't answer after death. I don't know if there's something beyond this. Guess what? All of that can still happen, and you can still say, yeah, Genesis is clearly inspired by earlier mythologies, likely from the East, potentially by Deucalion and the Greek myths. There are other myths that it's clearly inspired from, and it's a new version that's inverting some of that older material, doing its own theological thing. Whoop-de-doo. Guess what? Many Christian scholars who are like Catholics, they're not as conservative as him. He's pushing an apologetic. I know scholars who go, yeah, Genesis 1 and 2 contradict. This is mythology. It never happened. And they're Christians at the end of the day. Now, I would disagree with them because we would talk about Jesus. They might go, I think he rose from the dead or something. But dude, he's not just being honest with the data like we're trying to be honest with the data. There's an agenda that's so warped in apologetics, and we know what that's like, that it skews the perception of someone who's investigating it. And you would immediately call it out. If you saw a Mormon do it for Joseph Smith, or if I showed you how a Muslim's behaving, you'd go, yep, I see it. Then I go, look in the mirror, bro. They can't. They're blind to their reflection. They can't see it. And that's cognitive dissonance. And in fact, the sad part about cognitive dissonance is sometimes even more data that falsifies the narrative makes them even more certain of their own delusion. That's the sad part, is that if you can confirm with even stronger proof that they're wrong, they actually are more convinced that they're right.
Yeah.
That's how powerful the tool of cognitive dissonance is. And I mean, I think there's an extreme level of that's going on.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
You guys are on a crash course with each other. It feels like to me, like eventually you're going to have to sit down with them, and the internet will demand it.
I've been trying to do this since that happened.
He won't
do
talk
it?
to us, bro.
No.
Why?
Because he has nothing to gain.
Oh, yeah.
Everything to lose.
He has everything to lose if he ends up in conversation
nothing to
with
gain
us.
from him sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, he already challenged him publicly.
Yeah.
He already said he won't debate me. He's scared. And then guess what? A few days later, he's on the rise to Joe Rogan's fame, and he never mentions Neal. He hides it.
He never.
And he's on this video. He goes,
even when he apologized to me, it wasn't to me. It was through someone.
Oh, this was definitely talking about you. He
Yeah.
didn't give a shit about anyone else. We did a damn hit piece video calling out his crap on Christmas and all this stuff.
2 days later,
Dude,
he drops a video saying, "I won't debate you."
He's like, "Look, I've been getting all these
that
debates."
was about you.
That was
you
about,
think.
bro.
It
saw
came out
that
2
video.
days after my video.
He said, like, I get 10 debate challenges a week, and so I can't do that.
Come on, bro.
But
And
the funny part about that is he was willing to jump on with Billy Carson without any prep. Jump on, do a drive-by in front of Billy. Billy didn't know he was debating. But for him, this is what he told Danny Jones behind the scenes. If I want to talk to Neal, I'm going to need about 6 months of prep. And
That's what he
that's
told
what he
Danny
told him.
Jones that.
Yes. But wait a minute. You can jump in front of Billy Carson with no problem at all?
Well,
But
that's
when
a
it
compliment
just
to you.
talked- I know.
That's a
but
compliment
All
to
I
you.
said was I just want
Yeah.
to have a conversation.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you came in hard, homie.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. When that,
Yeah, he's complimenting you.
I guess.
Yeah, that is-
You should be flattered.
well, I
But
don't
it's-
think
it's-
he's
to me, that's
intentionally
weak, though.
complimenting
It's
him.
like,
I don't.
well,
You're the expert, not me, right?
I mean, I don't, you know,
Yeah, but you don't fight the fighters that you know are going to
don't listen to
clock
the
you,
words
you
that
know?
are said.
True.
Look at the actions, right? And if I'm going to go in a fight and I'm going to go fight somebody in the octagon, but I need to I'll go fight one guy one day on an empty stomach, and one other guy I go, well, I got to go train for 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, what am I actually saying?
Yeah, but then it's like, okay, then don't debate at all then.
Billy's clearly not as well versed as you guys.
Billy Carson should have got more.
Billy's not as
real.
his expertise isn't in the same area as deep as you guys are. Like Billy researches a lot, I think, but it's not the same.
He made claims where he claimed to be like an expert and this and that. I didn't know about all these claims, but he did make claims that he was.
Yeah.
Now we're guys, okay. You know, we all
nothing else needs to be said.
I know nothing else in the podcast, right? But I'll tell you this: I'm smirking, bro, because when he did that video and he's like, "Listen, I've been getting requests to debate." This was 2 or 3 days after we got 100,000 views on a video.
150,000
going straight for his jugular. Okay,
yeah. I'll send you that
do you
link before I
really
go.
think? Do we really think Wes Huff is talking about a church pastor or a skeptic online sent him an email, and that's really what he's addressing? Or is he really addressing someone who's literally getting so much attention that I had more dislikes on my video than likes by Christians? This shit was so viral amongst his audience that I had more hate in the comments.
And they had nothing to say about what we said. There was no comments.
It was
at 3 minutes in, you said this, and I think this. Nothing. There was not a single comment like that.
They were parrots echoing the same. You guys are lost. You're just
some of them. You could tell they didn't even watch the video because they would go, "You won't debate Wes Huff." Even though in the video, 5 minutes in the video, I say I want to debate Wes Huff.
Listen, this brings Alex O'Connor into the mix, and this brings another interesting aspect about this.
Alex O'Connor did a video about this.
Alex O'Connor contacted me. In fact, we hadn't spoke ever. I've been a fan of his work for a long time. He wrote me on WhatsApp. We got connected. He wanted to ask me what is going on because he did a video with Wes Huff in it, right, or a response to Wes. Dude, he said, "Are these bots? Or is this real? What's going on? The comments aren't right, and the dislike and all this stuff." It was eerie. He didn't know what was going on. It was a viral
to
train.
his video. It happened to his video
like
too,
us,
like yours.
The same way it happened to us, it happened to him. And the weirdest part was they weren't watching the content. And then 3 or 4 days or a week later, me and him met with Stephen Voice to talk about this issue. And he won't show up. Wes won't come there. And we asked him to, even though him and Steve are like private messaging all day long. And he's talking about this stuff. Steven jumps on, and we had to get that cat out of the bag kind of thing right off the gate. And I said, listen, we need to have you, because your whole groupies are losing their mind in our comment section, confess that Wes was wrong. He made a massive blunder, and we caught him on it. And you know what Steven said? He goes, he was wrong. The Christians in that chat didn't listen. They still did the dumbassery. And I'm sitting there going, okay, guess what? We now realize the delusion is strong in this one. And they just want him to be right.
It was pretty funny. Funny.
It's not about the truth.
He's the white horse. He's the defender of the faith.
Yeah,
man.
That's it.
He has the look that they're looking. He's got the leader mentality, I guess. I can
got
see
the
it.
confidence. Yeah.
That's all. They need that. They need a white knight, you know? And Neal is the dark knight who's coming in going, nah. I mean, let's keep it real, bro. You coming in, you're wearing that dark armor.
The one that lost his faith at his baptism.
Dude, me and him, we got baptized in the Jordan River.
Oh, yeah.
In the name of Gnostic Informant. And
remember what happened?
We had, bro.
This is so weird.
Kid you
we
not.
had no idea this was going to happen. We go to Israel.
We
go to the Jordan River. We put on our whites.
whites.
We go in there. We do a fake baptism of each other.
Well, I kind of felt, I was like, you know what?
Yeah,
it's a joke,
let's do a fake baptism.
Good
It's
intentions.
real. Yeah, it's good intentions.
While we're in the water, was it a partial eclipse?
It was it was a solar eclipse, but it was not full. Like we were on the line where it would be
got shady. All of a sudden I go, why is it so shady all of a sudden? We get out of the car, we get out of the water, we go back to our van, and then we find out from one of the people in the van, hey, there was just an eclipse that just happened. Did you guys know? It was almost a total eclipse. It was
at
99%.
the point we got baptized. That happened.
No way.
While we're in the water. It was like a weird sign,
and
dude.
the little fishies nibbling at our feet and all that. Man.
Wait, did you go get baptized by someone who could have planned that, or did you just do it yourselves?
I baptized him. He baptized me.
We had no idea there was an eclipse
just the two of you
until after we got out.
No way.
It was while we're in the water.
No way.
Because I remember thinking to myself, did it just get dark out? And it was and then a few minutes later, it's light out again.
By the way, speaking of which, before we forget, if you ever want to go on a tour and we actually go see these sites, I'm telling you, it's life changing. It's unbelievable. If you ever want to go on a tour with me and Neal, we're planning on doing a tour in the future. You guys should come. Get some footage.
You know what I want to see is Tal Amam. We interviewed Steve Collins, who was looking at Sodom and Gomorrah, the real sites.
Yeah.
He believes he found them in Jordan instead of Israel, where mainstream.
Well, Jordan on the Dead Sea is like right there.
It's
dude.
right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
across the river.
Yeah, it's literally there.
He puts it on the northeast, and man, he's been excavating it for like
16 dig seasons.
16 dig seasons.
I mean, it's his
Dude.
his evidence is unreal.
I would talk to.
Oh my!
You want to
gosh.
talk to someone they've been on the History Channel? Bob Cargill, Robert Cargill.
Oh yeah.
He has a book
I
called
know
Cities
that.
That Built the Bible.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's right.
He talks
That's a
about Sodom
good
and
one.
Gomorrah in
Yeah.
depth.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That guy, dude, you know Jerusalem's name, literally Aru Salem. Salem's a god.
No,
Jerusalem is
I thought Yeru's the god.
Salem.
Oh, okay. I've heard Yeru means moon and
No,
Yeru-
the children of Salem's one of the sons of Asherah, and the other. So there's the moon and the solar sun. I can't remember the name of the other son, but there are figurines of them both suckling from the breast of Asherah, and that Salem was the city of Jerusalem was named off after the god Salem, and we still have it in the name.
Yeah, but I
today.
think that word Yeruk means like moon too.
It's he said that the inscription was Uru Salem. So maybe moon is in Uru,
Yeah.
URU or something like that. But we now call it Jerusalem. But dude, there's so
Amazing.
much to learn and get into, guys. We love this stuff. Again, that's some of the drama. What other drama have we had?
I don't know.
I'm cool now. Me and Michael Jones are cool. Inspiring
Yeah.
Philosophy. I'm actually tight with him. We text on a regular basis now. Like,
Cool.
just checking my video today on critiquing Islam. He's like, good video. I'm sharing it on Twitter. He's just being cool with me, man. And we should.
Oh, I need you to ask him if he's down to do a debate on Christmas. A fun debate,
Okay.
not
like
attacking
let's
each other.
have
Let's
be
have
cool.
a good talk about a debate about the origins of Christmas.
Okay, because he's strong on that one, right?
I know
He's
good at that. That's
Yeah.
why I think it'd be a good debate.
Yeah, I would like that. Let's make things cool.
Let's
with,
make a call with him after this.
yeah. So he,
Cool.
me and him had it out on Dionysus, water into wine.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard about that drama.
No.
So we like it was really over the idea of like Jesus turning water into wine. Where does this come from?
Yeah.
And he went to this conference, an apologetics conference, and he said, "Have you heard skeptics say, Dionysus turned water into wine centuries before Christianity?" And he says, that's not true. It comes from a third century text, Common Era. And he goes, "Shut up," in a
he
mocking
totally butchers
fashion.
it, and it's totally wrong.
So
We found like 5 to 7 at least primary sources of water turning into wine miracles of Dionysus.
or like a spring of
Yeah.
water changes into wine
yeah,
for 7 days and stuff like
by
that.
Dionysus.
By
Yeah.
the god Dionysus, and it's his epiphany, his presence, the same thing.
And one of them happens on the same day
the same day.
of the Epiphany, which was, according to the church, the same day that Jesus turned water into wine. So we found a pagan source,
Same day.
Pliny
pagan
the
source
Elder.
on January 5th, which predates the Gospels, saying that the water turning into wine by Dionysus happened on January 5th, and the church has it the same day.
It's called Theodosia, God's gift
Theodosia.
day.
Incredible.
And
And I think he just totally hand waved that away and was like,
he,
doesn't count. It's not exactly the same.
yeah, we went back and forth. We had video responses, and
Yeah,
we
it,
were going back
it
and
got
forth.
pretty heated.
And
though.
then me and Neal, we just went gloves off, dude. And we went kind of cutthroat, a little over. I mean, we really went hard on him, and he got so offended
yeah,
that
got
he did a
mad.
video, and he caught me on make a few mistakes, and it became you're liars, that kind of thing. And it got just sour real fast. So we like broke up. You know what I mean? And then I reached out to him when all this crap hit the fan that was recent about people
Yeah.
dictating who I can interview and all that shit.
Oh
So-
yeah, we had this. There's a corner of the internet, very far left, atheist. They like know-it-alls, like moralities. We determine morality
Puritans.
type Puritans, trying to tell me and Derek that we shouldn't have certain people on our channel because they're Nazis, and they're not Nazis.
No.
They just call them that. And so me and Derek like struck back against these
I
people.
finally
like,
took a
spoke out.
stand because
Yeah.
I had a good friend that I feel like I betrayed. And in a sense I did, but I felt betrayed too because how things went down, just the pressures that be, they should have never been on my back and down my throat about this whole issue to begin with.
Right.
With me trying to have Robert Price, who's a friend
Mm-hmm.
of mine, and he's got 2 PhDs. He's a Bible scholar. This guy's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a long story, but when all that went down and you go through a little bit, you've suffered quite a bit in your life already, you realize you're like, dude, that was petty. Like we're arguing over something that I think he's wrong about. He thinks I'm wrong about. Whoop-de-doo. He's never been a
cares?
bad guy to me in
Right.
terms of Michael Jones. And I reached out and I was like, dude, I'm sorry that it got sour and I treated you that way publicly. Hope you'll accept my apology, man. I think that you're a chill dude. I imagine if I still drank beer, we'd hang out and have a beer at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't drink, so I can't have a beer with you. But like, if we ever meet up, we'll be cool. And I guarantee you the same is for Neal. I think these are down to earth people. Some of these people, though, bro, that are just nut jobs. And Neal caught some of these people with their pants down so bad in a video response. I was just like, I didn't even know what to expect, and the video was insane. I mean, it's beyond anything we're talking about with all the beef and dramas that have happened here. This video was just on a whole nother level. You know what I'm saying?
Which one?
The one that you did where you're like Ricky and all those people, like, dude.
Oh, yeah.
That was this, like, you went into the sewer and just took a light and wanted to show everyone this shithole, and then just like came back out. It was like really, really dark.
Surprised no one did a response to that though. No one touched it.
Why would they? That
was it that good? You think?
Dude, you just like.
Well, the point of the video is to show, because they have these, like, if you have someone on your channel, you are co-signing everything they believe, and you're basically saying it's okay if they said something online 10 years ago and we don't like it, and you have them on your channel, then you co-sign everything. I'm like,
and they must apologize for that thing.
So the point was, I showed them that they themselves have hosted people on their channels who have done atrocious shit. The one dude who hosted the video that was attacking me and Derek had a video where he had this girl on the screen, this
Christian,
very extremely nice old girl, calling her what was he calling her? He's calling her
raggedy,
bitch. Let me give her my BBD, my big black D.
Yep.
He said, if I give her my BBD, she'll be good now.
Yeah.
And I played that clip. I go, this is the person you hosted, or who hosted you guys.
You guys are the pure ones.
To do your video.
Right.
Condemning me.
The whole video is just me kind of going through their content, showing how they don't really have any morality, the standard of morality. As long as they're on the left, they're good.
As long as you're
the one girl, I don't remember her name. I hate her so much. Was her whole Twitter. It was so easy to find.
Oh, Jessica.
I just went to her Facebook, went to her photos, Jessica weirdo. And I went to her Facebook photos and I just started scrolling through, and it's just complete. It's her making fun of people for being on minimum wage, her making fun of people for being bald, making fun of people for being fat, talking to a black person saying, "Are you going to be a rapper?" And I'm like, whoa, this is horrible. And I showed that on there. Like,
yeah.
And they're like, these people don't have any really morality standard. They just, if you're on the left, you're good. If you're on the right, you're bad.
And you guys get into the sauce a lot.
Yeah.
We tried. Look,
but you're in this subject matter that has kind of morality attached to it.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of people that are
grimy.
Passionate
Yeah.
about their morality.
I don't care about people's politics at all.
I'll
have anyone on as long as the top.
Sure.
If you could be a far right wing, I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as if you're studying some subject that I'm interested, I want to have a talk. I want to have a conversation with you.
That's cool.
That's just how I am.
I
let people know that about me up front. You can take it or leave it. I don't care if you don't want to watch me. Fine.
Right.
But just don't try to tell me what to do with my own channel. I don't tell you what to do with your channel.
And that's what ultimately happens. They have a community rule internally that you need permission, that it's a safe space for everybody involved.
Yeah,
you're not going to host someone on there that may offend a particular minority group, whether it be trans, whether it be African American, whether it be Latino, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Females, because there's a lot of that as well.
And then the one friend that me and Derek had for years that we've been promoting on our channel, I got him on Danny Jones. You promoted him, did courses with him. We basically were friends with him, allowed him to stay with us when he came to Florida. He was on this panel with them.
Against me.
Attacking me and Derek after all these years, after being friends with him all these years. And then he puts on this show going, "Hey guys, I just want to let everyone know that up until right now, I had no idea how much white privilege I had and I need you guys to remind me so I don't get caught up in this stuff ever again." Basically like putting us under the bus, saying, "Oh, all the stuff they did, don't attack me for it because I was their friend. I'm not going to talk to them anymore. White privilege, please help me."
It
was so bad.
It's culty on a different
it was
level.
So cringe that I just was like, okay, this is all for show. These people are just doing everything. Basically, it's all like, what's the word? It's all performative.
Performative.
It's not real. And it's not
everyone is like that. I think some of them
here's the thing. Those people on that panel, they don't get a lot of views. I'm not making fun of people not getting views. It's hard to get views. My views are down right now.
Yeah.
But the point is like you can see that people are just not interested in their message. the way they carry themselves, the performative politics and all that shit. People are just not. They're not. These are not people with big numbers behind them.
Well, a lot of people who are performative, I think, are performing for themselves.
Yeah,
and so
people pick up on it.
Right.
People,
so
the normies who watch all of our channels, they know who's real and who's not.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're being performative and fake, it's going to reflect.
You know, I tend to look at negative comments as a sign that you're doing great.
That's true,
So
though. That's true.
We sort of tend to see the more negative comments we get, I try and actually get excited about it because it means
it means people are paying attention,
and they care. They're touching on something.
You made them stop what they're doing to type something for you.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it really is. And I realized that there's no one in the world that has any sort of fame or notoriety or following where 30% of the people at least hate you. It doesn't matter where you are on the side of any subject matter, where, even the middle, anything. 30% of the people are going to hate you at least. And so it's a sign that you're doing great. And it's not personal.
You can't stop this guy, dude. You try to beat him down, he's going to take it as good, right? No,
yeah. I mean, you're an ugly piece of, I'm just kidding.
Dude, he loves it. Just keep it coming.
Here we go. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe to not this asshole. No, I'm kidding.
Have you guys ever considered writing a book? It feels like
I have.
Me and Noel probably
I just don't know what
stuff too.
to cut out. Like, I don't know what I can focus on to make it, because I have so much that
textbook.
Yeah, it'll probably end up being something related to, like, you know, the whole Epiphany Dionysian aspect of something like that.
I'm actually helping co-author a book right now, and I've been putting a little work into it compared to the scholar who's actively doing it. Mark G. Bilby, he has written an article on the book of Acts. We know the story, right? The origins of the Christian church. In the book of Acts, he's done this interesting observation where he parallels it to the old plays of Iphigenia and Orestes. And Paul is a new Orestes. Like, anyway, we're going to go into this together. I'm going to help make his academic stuff more popular level sounding.
Cool.
And I want to co-author it with him. I actually was going to want to bring you in on the project if you would like to be part of that.
Yeah, maybe.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, this is literally the first time I'm bringing this up to him.
That's awesome.
But I'd like to co-author with, I'm sure Neal and me will have our names on stuff together even. We want to do an article about the Epiphany stuff, but we might want to write a book and make a popular level book. Because do we really need to get, I mean, we could do the academic peer review as well as a popular level version.
You could do both.
Yeah,
of course.
It feels inevitable. Eventually, you're going to write a book.
Yeah.
Right?
You guys got to get this stuff down. I mean, you're already doing it visually and on YouTube, but then to get it down in print.
That's true. That's true.
Pretty awesome.
Just to get the credibility and the
and for the people who
credentials.
fall at the credentialed stuff.
Because not everyone that gets published in peer review has a PhD, and you can become a legitimate scholar. Like Russell Gmerkin was a scholar, didn't get a PhD, but he was a bona fide scholar because he got published peer review all the time. That's what scholars do. You get your PhD to do that.
Right.
So if you can kind of skip the whole thing and just start publishing peer review,
what's the difference?
It's like a walk-on, a non-graduate football player who makes the pros.
That's right.
Same thing.
Yeah, and
they're on the team.
Yeah, as long as you're scoring touchdowns and you're a player.
No one cares.
Yeah.
And
we can't allow knowledge to be gated by credentials. That's ridiculous.
And I noticed the really bad scholars, like the one we were just talking about, who's turned his back on us. He's the quickest type to go, that person doesn't have a PhD, so their work isn't good. And it's because it's him being nervous that he's insecure that because he got a PhD and his stuff's not that good, and other people's work is better without a PhD. You're right. It's threatening to him. That's what it is. Yeah.
Man, this has been awesome, guys.
This has been awesome.
Yeah, this has been good. I think this is it.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us talk to you guys and meet you in person.
Absolutely, bro.
This has been so fun. You guys
strike me as the realest dudes that you could find. Just for
I
what
appreciate that.
The people who aren't here hanging out and didn't get behind the scenes. You guys seem real to me as it gets.
I appreciate that. Likewise.
And thanks for all the work you guys are doing. For real, your content. I love both of your contents on your channels, respective channels, and I think you guys got to keep going. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, and to the moon, man. Like, keep going, don't stop. You guys are awesome, we can tell, and you keep doing this. Perfect the craft, keep going, get more names, and enjoy these conversations. It's going somewhere, bro.
Roger that.
Appreciate that, man.
Cool. Later, everybody.
See you guys.